In 2014, 20th Century Fox released X-Men Days of Future Past that became an instant hit for the X-Men franchise. Not only that, but it introduced two generations, both old and new. It reset the timeline and gave the franchise a second landing. And people thought, hey, looks like Fox may do well for the rest of the X-Men franchise. But of course, as I've explained the title of this video, it did not go as planned for the next follow-up for the X-Men main films. And when expectations could have been pretty higher, things only gotten worse. That what should have been a great follow-up to Days of Future Past would sadly become one of the most disappointing films in the franchise, in my own personal opinion. I'm going to tell you all why. What's good, everybody? My name is Nate, and on this 60-second episode of The Road to Avengers Doomsday, we're taking a look, unfortunately, at X-Men Apocalypse, a film that introduces one of the most powerful villains in the entire Marvel Universe, and what should have been a great movie for audiences to enjoy, but sadly, the film fell short of its potential. While it did have some great performances and exciting moments, things went flat for this movie. So I'm going to be breaking down this entire movie to you guys, and by the end of the video, you guys will be leaving your own thoughts on the movie. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy this show as I take you a deep dive into X-Men Apocalypse. So like the previous X-Men movies said in the classic 60s, 70s, X-Men Apocalypse takes place in the 1980s, in 1983. This film follows the awakening of Ed Sonanru, who is better known as Apocalypse. Now he's not just a powerful being. He is actually the world's first mutant, in X-Men history. After being asleep for thousands of years, from the age of the Egyptians to that era of the 1980s, Apocalypse has reawakened, and he decides that he believed that humanity has lost its way. He decides to rebuild the world, and he plans destroy everything and rule it. And for a story like that, it does sound pretty potential. Unfortunately, I don't think the script fully explores Apocalypse's motivations and stuff. The ideas are pretty interesting, but the execution feels very rushed, and that's one of the first red flags I see for this movie. And there's a lot more, so I'm going to explain more. So once again, this movie manages to bring back James McAvoy as Professor X. At this point, McAvoy does a pretty great Charles Xavier. He captures the intelligence of the character, the compassion, the leadership, and the optimism. Watching continue to grow into Professor X we know in the original X-Men trilogy remains one of this film's greatest strengths, and I enjoy his acting pretty much a lot when I see this movie. And another great standout performance is none other than Michael Fassbender, who returns as Eric Lencher, aka Magneto. I enjoyed his arc as Magneto in the movies, and it's just really great of how much the studio wanted to push more for this character a lot. So early in the movie, Eric is attempting to leave his violent past behind as Magneto. He builds a peaceful life. He has a family and a future ahead of himself. But sadly, tragedy strikes again. After exposing himself as a mutant, saving a construction worker's life, his entire world crumbles around him. And Magneto unfortunately opens his dark side once again. It just shows how despite everything, his past acts eventually catches up to him. And I do feel kind of bad for Magneto, in my opinion. I mean, bro went through so much trauma and loss throughout his life, and he deserves a break. Now, one of the biggest talking points in X-Men Apocalypse is the villain Apocalypse. Now, he is played none other than actor Oscar Isaac. Now, he is a pretty great actor, and I really appreciate how much he's willing to do a pretty great performance. But sadly, the movie doesn't give enough screen time. The amount of heavy makeup that the actor had to do limited his facial expressions, and Apocalypse never feels terrifying as he should. Considering this is one of the most greatest X-Men villains in like history. I expected so much more from Apocalypse, but sadly this movie doesn't give so many. There's like a little this and that, and we don't see him until the next couple of minutes. Like, Apocalypse is supposed to be a terrifying villain we'll see more of, but this movie gives less of that. And that's one of the main issues I really have for X-Men Apocalypse. I don't blame Oscar Isaac. I mean, he's a great actor. I enjoyed his performance. It's just the writing is just a bit down. Now, as I said before, this film features a new generation of X-Men. So I'm gonna break it all down for you guys. So we actually see the younger versions of the classic X-Men characters we knew. Starting off in the debut of this movie is Jean Grey, who is played by Game of Thrones actor Sophie Turner. I do like her performance, and like we actually get to see a young Jean Grey. It's just pretty great, and something that I will later talk about, like in the Dark Phoenix video. That's a video coming soon on my channel. Not looking forward to that one. And then there is Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, who is played by Ty Sheridan, who would later go on to do my favorite movie, Ready Player One. I do like his acting, and we can see a younger Cyclops who's struggling to use his powers after getting those atomic blasts, and it's just pretty great of how much character development he goes through. And I really enjoyed that a lot. And then debuting this movie is Kurt Wangler, aka Nightcrawler, who is played brilliantly by actor Kobe Smith McPhee, who you may know from the movies Paranorman, The Road, and even Let Me In. Even though I wasn't a bit of a fan of this casting, I do appreciate how much he really tries to do the acting. And I just like how these actors can do great. And lastly, we actually see a younger version of Storm, who is played by Alexandria Shipp. Now, even though she gets a mostly bit of screen time, I do like her hairstyle, especially that mohawk style that we see in the 90s comics. Great nod to that, by the way. It's actually pretty cool. And while these younger characters did receive much development, as I would have liked, they laid the ground for the future X-Men like that we will see. Because this timeline is so confusing, like what Deadpool would say. Now, the supporting cast movie is still as strong as ever. Jennifer Lawrence continues to shine brightness as Mystique, and she does pretty great with like the shape-shifting scenes. It's pretty fantastic. Nicholas Hoult once again plays great as Beast, and I do like the more ground approach you see for him. It's just pretty great of how much he is getting. And lastly, Evan Peters still delivers great scenes as Quicksilver. Speaking of which, let me tell you guys something. One of the best scenes I enjoy in X-Men Apocalypse is the Quicksilver scene, as he saves like every student and even the X-Men in the X-Mansion from blowing up. I do like that sequence, and if the fact it took so many days to shoot is pretty fascinating. Props to Evan Peters for his role as Quicksilver. He's one of the best parts of the movies. And I just enjoy of how much he had a good time doing those things. It's beautifully choreographed and all things. So once again, Bryan Singer does great direction for this movie. Even though the action's well shot, the performances are great, the film it struggles to have its good pacing. And the story feels pretty much less focused. And sadly, we don't see much of Apocalypse being less intimidating than the movie wants it to be. I kind of blame the writers for like how they made this movie. But still, the visuals and action sequences are pretty great, especially when the characters display their powers and fight each other. It's all very well crafted and great, and it really does do a great storytelling for many characters. It's just all pretty great. And now I'm going to tell you my personal thoughts on the movie. Personally, I think X-Men Apocalypse is a decent movie, but sadly, I'm one of those people who really don't like it. I just don't love the movie. You know, after watching Days of Future Past, I expected something pretty great and fantastic, but sadly, this movie's completely forgettable. The cast is everything they've got. Everyone is like trying to tell a great movie, but Apocalypse deserved a pretty strong script, And if I was in the writer's room, I think I would have written a great like storyline for like the X-Men Apocalypse. Thankfully, many years later in 2024, and for X-Men 97 Season 2, we would get a proper Rise of Apocalypse storyline. And it does pretty well. So, why did I include X-Men Apocalypse on the road to Avengers Doomsday? Well, because Marvel Studios is continuing to embrace characters from Fox's X-Men universe through the multiverse. Even if Apocalypse isn't one of the franchise's strongest entries, it's an important chapter in the evolution of these characters. With the multiverse bringing heroes of different Marvel continuities, with the multiverse bringing characters from different Marvel properties, and understanding these legacy films can help us appreciate the bigger picture leading us towards Avengers Doomsday. But in conclusion, X-Men Apocalypse tried and failed to do something pretty good. Even though it had a great cast, a legendary villain, a talented director, and it tried to take the momentum that Days of Future Past tried. But sadly, it didn't reach those heights. Even so, it's still an enjoyable movie that everyone would put in their watch list. And a good movie could feel disappointed, even if it does truly great. And I just gotta say one thing. What is that over there? Ugh! Oh boy. X-Men Apocalypse, eh? AKA one of the worst movies I've seen. You know, as a movie like me, I think I would do well. You wanna know why, kids? Because I wanna be in it. I think Fox should do better. If I was in it, I would just poke on Apocalypse and say a bunch of stuff. But if this is called X-Men Apocalypse, why is there more destruction? What is it, trying to avoid 2012? Oh, wait till next time I meet up with Logan. And wait till I say, hey Logan, uh-oh, I gotta run because he's after me. Seriously, Deadpool, you gotta stop showing up out of nowhere. But anywho, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and let me know down in the comments below. What do you think of X-Men Apocalypse? Do you love it or hate it? Please let me know. And anyways, thanks for watching. Remember, my videos are just the thoughts, movies, and shows I watch on a daily basis. And I definitely can't wait to do another one for you guys. Anywho, be safe. Have a good day.